When you're getting ready to be seen in the powerful ways that publishing a book offers, I'm curious what shows up for you. In today's episode of The Written Compass, I'm going to dive deep into some things that I notice around self-sabotage as our beautiful authors, myself included, get close to hitting publish. I'm so excited you're here. Let's jump right in. It's really funny, really interesting, and almost predictable what happens when we get really close to hitting publish. Welcome, welcome. Dr. Shana Hartman here. I am excited to have you on another episode of The Written Compass. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about something that I've talked about before, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into the story of self-sabotage. Yes, we can often send ourselves into a little bit of sabotage when we are getting ready to get close to publication. So here are some of the things I just want to kind of put them on your radar, because sometimes we can self-sabotage early. I usually find it happening early on when we're deciding whether we want to get started or not with writing a book or heading towards something that we might put out in the world and publish, or it may happen right at the end. So self-sabotage is not anything new. We all understand where we basically have a goal, something we are working towards, and we suddenly find all the reasons why this can't happen, right? So we might start to doubt ourselves. We might start to doubt our abilities. We might start to realize that writing just feels like something that we're not really that invested in or interested in. And suddenly we go, well, if I'm not feeling it, if it's not exciting me, then maybe I'm not supposed to do it, right? What happens towards the end is that we start to kind of get sick of our book. Yes. Can you imagine? I'm sure you can. That you've worked on it, you've read it, you've written, you've rewritten, you've revised, you've edited, you've gotten feedback and you've addressed the feedback. You've gone back and forth on cover design. You've gone back and forth on interior. And oh, by the way, you're living your life, you're running your business, you're doing your professional things. And this book is starting to feel like a pain in the you know what. And so it is really easy to lose that steam and momentum, or at least we tell ourselves that. And we start to self-sabotage, meaning we start to kind of delay the process of actually getting the book out in the world. There comes this moment in almost every writer's process where you're like, listen, you need to get your hands out of it. You need to stop asking for changes, for tweaks, et cetera, et cetera. So here's how it often shows up is maybe you look at the font for your title and you suddenly start to go, is that going to be readable? Are people going to understand what it says? Is that the right font? Maybe we should try some different ones. Maybe I should do my name a little bit differently. I'm not sure about this image. Maybe it should be a different color. Maybe it should be darker. Maybe it should be brighter. Can you really see these words on the cover? And then with the interior, I was rereading this one part and I think I want to tweak this paragraph, right? I'm intentionally speaking quickly because this is what happens quite often as we start to head towards publication. It can happen when we're picking categories and keywords, and it's all very normal because ultimately we want our book to be out there. We want it to be successful. We want our words to matter, to be important. But there's this interesting little thing when fear starts to show up, when the thing we desire is actually right there in front of us, where we will self-sabotage. And it can be sneaky. And that is why it is so important to have this external person, a coach, support, someone who's gone through the process before, who can sit there and honor and ask you questions to really check in. So I want to offer what we often do. And some questions that we ask our clients as we are maybe recognizing there's a little bit of potential self-sabotage, or we want to check in. Is this self-sabotage, or is this something that's really aligned that you want to lean into? So the first thing that I like to ask, question one, if we're kind of numbering them, is knowing there is no right or wrong, right? What would you like to do here? knowing there is no right or wrong, knowing that no matter what you choose, this font, that color, this saturation, this interior layout, this wording in this paragraph, right? This author bio picture or that one. If there were no right or wrong, or I like to say knowing because there is no right or wrong, knowing there is no right or wrong, what would you like to do here? What would feel aligned here, right? That's one question. The other is I like to lean in and ask, is this yours? This questioning that's happening, this kind of wondering if I should change something. Is that yours? Is that coming from within, or does that feel like an external? We have to be careful of who we are sharing our story with, who we are sharing what we're doing with, because sometimes people will give their opinion and they've never done what you're doing. They've never written a book. They've never put their words out there. They've never written, period. So why are we listening to those people? We want to make sure that we have the right support, people who are kind of going to be there and have our back and hold space for us versus telling us what to do when they don't really have the experience to do so. So that's why it's a good opportunity for you to check in and say, is this mine or is this coming from somewhere else? Am I taking on someone else's influence? And it's okay if it's a both and, right? Sometimes having an external person to go, hey, I noticed this about your book, or I noticed this about the title. I noticed this about the cover. Okay. And we want to make sure that we are keeping very clear that ultimately this is your book, this is your baby, you get to make the decision. So one is knowing there's no right or wrong, what feels aligned. Two, checking in, is this mine or am I taking influence, and does that line up? If it is not yours, it doesn't feel like yours, then lovingly we get to return to sender and just go, thank you. I appreciate the feedback and I am moving on, right? If it does feel like ours, right? Then we get to lean in and say, what would be the kind of final question? What would feel most supportive right now? Is there a question under the question sometimes happens? So I'm asking about font choices with my cover. Is that really my question? Or is my question, is anybody going to buy this book? Is anybody going to read this book? Are people going to like this book? Right? Those are very different questions. It may be showing up self-sabotage way as questioning the font, right? But really the sub question, the true question is, am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be affirmed? Is this all been worthwhile? And that's great because once we've dissected what that real question is, then we get to do some loving coaching around that, or at least that's what happens with my clients. So I'm curious, and this self-sabotage kind of stuff happens in all aspects of our life. But really, when we're going to be seen in these very interesting ways is when I find that it pops up the most. So I am not immune to this. This is kind of part of the process. We almost look for it as coaches when we're working with our clients and supporting them in their writing and the publishing. So I'm curious, what of these have you experienced before? How have you addressed it? And what if of any of these kind of questions, coaching, self-coaching questions, do you find most helpful? Of course, I want to hear from you and we want to support you if you're stuck in this. So don't hesitate to reach out. As always, thank you so much for joining me and I look forward to tuning in next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Written Compass. If you are enjoying this content, do me a favor and go and review the podcast. This allows me to share and get these messages out to the people who really need them, who we want to read their books in the future. You can also go and share your thoughts and tag me at @ShaynaHartman_ on Instagram. Again, this is just a way for us to get connected and share the writing love. And if you know that you are ready to write your book, that message that's been burning inside of you for a long time, then I want to talk to you. My team and I want to talk to you. Head on over to ShaynaHartman.com and click Work with Us. From there, you'll see an application to explore and see if writing your book is your next best step.